There's a small village tucked away between rolling hills, so deep and hidden it doesn't appear on most maps. A quiet place, almost forgotten. But if you were to find your way there, and if you happen to ask the right people, you might hear them whisper about the girl with the compass. Her name was Lila. She was 11 years old, with a spirit as wild as the woods she loved to explore. Curious, adventurous, she was the kind of kid who couldn't be kept indoors for long. The forest behind her house was her kingdom, filled with old paths, forgotten wells, and strange stones half buried in the damp earth. On her 11th birthday, her grandfather gave her a gift. It wasn't flashy or new. It was an old compass, its brass case worn and greened by time. The glass face was marred by a thin spiderweb crack. But when Lila held it, the needle didn't just point. It trembled, as if it were alive, humming with a secret energy. Her grandfather, his eyes crinkling at the corners, simply smiled and said, "It always finds the truth." Lila noticed it almost immediately. This compass didn't point north. No matter how she turned, no matter where she stood, the needle would spin determinedly back in one direction, toward the forest. So, of course, she followed it. The path it led her on was one she'd never taken, winding deeper into the woods than she had ever dared to go. The trees seemed to lean in too close, their gnarled branches twisting like skeletal hands reaching for her. When the needle finally stopped its frantic spinning, she found herself in a small clearing, and there was nothing, just a circle of trampled earth, silent except for the sighing of the wind through the leaves. She waited, her heart thumping with anticipation, expecting something. But nothing happened. With a shrug and a small laugh at her own imagination, she turned and headed home. A few days later, the compass tugged at her again. She followed the same path, back to the same clearing, but this time, it didn't feel the same. The air was heavier, pressing down on her. The trees felt watchful, their silence no longer peaceful, but predatory. And then, in the middle of the clearing, something moved. It was a shadow long and unnaturally thin, like a person standing just at the very edge of her vision. She blinked, and it was gone. Lila didn't wait this time. She ran. She ran all the way home, her breath catching in her throat. She told her parents she was just out exploring, but she couldn't shake the chilling feeling that the compass wasn't just leading her somewhere. It wanted her to go back. The third time, she didn't tell anyone she was leaving. As dusk began to bleed across the sky, painting the clouds in shades of orange and purple, she slipped out of her house, the compass clutched tight in her hand. The forest seemed to pull her in this time, swallowing the sound of her footsteps. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of a leaf felt amplified in the growing quiet, until even the sound of her own breathing felt too loud. The clearing was waiting for her, just as she knew it would be. But now, she was not alone. A tall, black shape stood in the center. It had the silhouette of a person, but it was profoundly wrong. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. It just wasn't. A void in the fading light. The compass needle in her hand began to spin faster and faster, a frantic, desperate dance, rattling violently against the glass until, with a sharp crack, the spiderweb fracture split wide open, and Lila screamed. A scream that echoed through the trees and then was cut abruptly short. They searched for days. An army of volunteers combed every inch of the forest. They found no footprints, no torn clothes, no sign of a struggle. It was as if she had simply vanished into thin air. The only thing they found was the compass, lying in the dirt of the empty clearing, its needles still pointing, steady and true, toward that same empty spot. Some say her grandfather never spoke another full sentence after that day. He'd just sit on his porch, his gaze lost in the dark woods, whispering over and over to himself, "It always finds the truth. It always finds the truth." It's been years since Lila disappeared. But the locals say that if you stand in that clearing at dusk, the air still feels unnaturally cold, a pocket of ice in the otherwise mild forest air. And if you bring a compass with you, its needle will start to tremble, then spin, always pointing to that same spot where Lila was last seen. Sometimes, people say they've seen a flicker of movement out of the corner of their eye. The silhouette of a young girl, just at the edge of the trees, watching. Others swear that on a quiet night, if you listen closely, you can still hear the faint, echoing ghost of her scream on the wind. And a very few, those who have stayed too long after the sun has set, say they've heard a soft voice whisper right beside them, a desperate plea from the darkness. Help me find the truth. So if you ever find a compass that doesn't point north, be careful. Don't blindly follow where it leads, because sometimes the truth it wants to find isn't out there in the woods. Sometimes it points back at you. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the shadows. Stay safe out there. Thank you for watching.